Hello, everybody. My name is T. I am back with a interview. This time with Saik. Is that how you pronounce it? I just want to make sure.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, with Saik. We're going to be talking about his WL team, which is I think C Clan Volo and I guess the JFK Assassination Yacht Club, whatever that is. And we're going to be talking about some of the since he's a council member, we're going to be talking about some of the changes that why some of the changes have happened this season, as well as some of the thoughts on the current state of the metagame. So how are you doing, man?
Um, Pretty good. About to make a fool of myself this interview, but it's good.
No worries, no worries. So, first thing we can talk about is I guess we can talk about regs for you guys. Even though, yeah, we can talk about regs since I feel like you guys have a very interesting reg season. So you guys are, I believe, 3-1 right now.
Yeah, 3-1.
So you guys are 3-1. You are, I believe, first slash second because Pool hasn't played their match versus Valhalla yet.
No, they played their match. It's just not updated on the table. They won. They got bonus point actually, I believe. So they're ahead with 1 point, but we have like a billion plus minus advantage if we ever get ahead of them.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So, okay, yeah, okay. I see that. I see that. So, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on like the division so far? I guess it's kind of shaping up. Like you have like a designated like top teams in Valhalla, Pool, and you guys have like the middle ground like LS, ZA, and then I don't know. I feel like there's like a lot more. I guess talking about like a little bit into the format because it's a 18 division. It's a lot of like defined tiers of who's like top, who's like middle, who's bottom. So what do you think about like your whole division in general?
Um, it's There are a few teams that we're specifically scared of, a little more scared of, but not really. Um, then there's just teams like pretty confident against most of the time. I'd say that ZA we're the most scared of, just because like how our playstyle matches up versus theirs. Like we're pretty sure we're gonna have a tough time with them. That's kind of the same with Pool. Just like generally how those teams play, whereas they basically just drive forwards most of the time, especially ZA. Um, they're like our biggest competition. Long Schlongs is we're sort of scared of as well because they have Life and Sean, who I both played on in the past on teams, so like they kind of know how I play, so they have that prior knowledge. But other than that, I mean those are the teams in 2, 3, 4, so I guess that says something. Other than that, it's not
So you
much.
talked, I guess we'll talk a little bit about this later, but you talked about playstyle. So, what kind of playstyle do you, I guess, consider CV to play in regs?
So since we all run most of the time, our whole playstyle is just dividing our runners and baggers and taking advantage of the other team's shock by picking courses that we're able to predict the shock easily on. But what our playstyle is really good versus is versus teams that just generally send people back too much, whether it be bagging for the shock or bagging for dodges. And a lot of the other teams we played against, they just don't know how to divide their baggers and runners like consistently enough. Like you have these players like going back for dodges in like bottom three spots, and they end up just getting shit on. They're never able to use their shocks correctly or use their dodges correctly because we're just able to either hog them ourselves, take boxes, or put them in spots where they can't get them. I noticed that like a lot of the like ZA and Pool generally like the players there don't really play Moe's much, so they just drive forward most of the time, and like it just turns into a regular just running war. Whereas like it's not that the Mogi playstyle like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but like if you have 5 players who are doing what they're supposed to be doing, like in a war, it just doesn't work out in the end. Because if everybody thinks, oh, I should go for a dodge in this spot, like it's like you're gonna have 3 people going for 1 star, and you're just gonna have 3 people in bottom spots, and your race is over. So
Oh, that's quite interesting. Cause so like basically it's like they're kind of like I guess overstepping their they're like grasping for straws, I guess, or stars
yeah,
in this case.
Like we've just noticed that in the FL match and the UT2 match, we just noticed that like they're either like they either use their shocks like really badly to try to be unpredictable and like try to use as many as they can as quickly as they can, and also their bagger just gets 0 points for the war for some reason. But they I don't know they just have to like divide their runners better, I guess, and their baggers.
All right. So I guess we can talk also about CTs. It's a little bit rougher on CTs. I think you guys are 2-2.
2-2, yeah.
Yeah. You guys. Well, at least you recently got a win versus BC Solar.
Yeah.
So do you just have any thoughts about like I guess I'd like to know like what are your guys' thoughts on like how you like played personally, like how you played personally, and how you think how you like communicated, and then how the team also played as well.
Throughout the season or just that match?
You know what? Actually, let's talk about throughout the season because I feel like it's a little bit different than like regs.
Yeah, CT's our team. We've literally only had one CT team before. We were like one of the first CT teams ever, but that was way back fucking like 2012. But now like our players don't really ever get to practice the tracks. We just have like an hour and a half room before the match, and that's it. But in the first 2 weeks, it was really rough. We were 0-2, and our plus minus was minus like 180 or something, and it was low. And then we just did a change to our lineup, and we changed basically how the tracks that we were picking, as well as the players we were using. We put Luca on the bench because he just said to himself, "All right, I'm shit. Get me out of here. I'm not even rage quitting. You're just better off." And we basically started. We did something. We're all running, but we're doing something different than we do in regs, because in general, CTs are a little more. You need shock more. Like your own team needs shock more on CTs because there's more like cannons, or the tracks. Like the tracks aren't as well balanced. So Ryan usually just stays at ninth, but I always scream at him to never actually suicide, because like we end up just going through so many boxes in ninth while the player in 10th is reversing so much that he never actually chains through enough items. And so we chain through more items in ninth and get the shock like most of the time, and it works because not only are we getting the shock, but we aren't having a player that gets 1 to 0 points every race, so we're able to like bank off of that. And I like half stop troll, while Ryan like full on just stays in bomb spots the whole race. And it's ended up working for our last 2 matches. It was a little rough halfway through the BC2 match, but that was because we just couldn't get a track pick to break the top spots, and we were just generally kind of playing bad. But our communication is a little shaky just because like it's our reg lineup and our CT lineups are completely different. Like our normal CT lineup is me, Wally, Solar, Derek, and Ryan, and none of those 4 are actually in the rig lineup. So for all run to work with it, we've had to like adjust a little more, and we probably need to get more practice, and it's just really hard with all of our schedules and time zones.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. So I guess speaking of some of the changes, this season's particularly there's been a lot of changes in terms of in the CT side. You guys implemented track, I believe, just like trackbacks, I believe is what they call it. And
pretty much.
I guess we can talk about that first, and then we'll go on about the 8 division regs, like the 8 division teams or 8 team divisions and regs. There we go.
Yeah. So random only. Can you go over?
Yeah, random only.
All right. So random only basically stemmed from me playing CTWL for it was mostly my FL season. It wasn't related to the team I played on at all. It was just that it was my first time playing where I wasn't trolling, or I wasn't in like D4 and scoring like 1 billion points per match. And I just noticed like, wow, what you like I started playing like the CT launch more, and I noticed like, wow, CTs are pretty fucking snowbally, because you're first, if you are any top spots, like there are certain tracks that if you are not picking these courses, you are actually throwing, because these courses are just generally so like Warrior's Shipwreck. I don't know. There's so many courses I can't think of right now. The Old Boo Lake. There are a ton of courses that are just broken for top spots.
Sparkley Road. like
Sparkly
specifically?
Road, like
Yeah.
you literally just kill first. Dark Matter Shrine is a version of that.
Hmm.
Um, there's just little boxes. There's too many boost panels, too many weird, wacky trick ramps.
Yeah.
There's not enough shortcuts, and
Basically, CTs aren't designed as well as regular
yeah,
tracks.
CTs are just not like as well designed most of the time.
Hmm.
So I thought like, we should try out some random wars. So I had a few like scrims where we just and CT lounges where we just did random only, and the host either randomed every race or we just picked from a list of 12, and we realized that was not as good because you're gonna have your baby parks, you're
Yeah.
gonna have you're gonna have your actual like straight up just fucking dice rolls. Like I don't think the pack is that dice rolly on average. However, there are some, and I thought like, okay, well, let's just give like a little more leeway. And I thought 20 was a perfect number because I randomized a list of tracks a billion times, and I could not find maybe once ever I found a list where there is straight up 9 or more tracks. You can only pick 12 of the courses. There are 9 or more tracks that are just unplayable, and you just dice rolls. I don't even know if that was once.
Yeah. There's
So
actually
this
I was gonna say that it's actually been pretty successful from what I've heard from people.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've gotten pretty much positive feedback except from one person, but that person's scoring about 25 per GP, and his team's at the bottom of the division. And
Oh.
uh, otherwise, I've had positive feedback that I mean, in general, like outside of competitive viability, I just thought that the idea that like you're able to formulate like strategies and practice like courses throughout the course of a week just being more interesting, and it keeps everything fresh.
Yeah.
I just like it wasn't just because like I want to make competitive viable as possible. It just sounded more interesting. I mean, yeah, I've been enjoying it. It's actually kind of a nerf to how we play. Like personally for CV, it's actually kind of a nerf to how we play because like track picks for all run are really important. I'll get into that later.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I've technically nerfed myself with it, but I'm happy with what we had so far.
All right. So jumping over to the RT side, there you implemented, I believe, 8 or I'm not sure. Did you spearhead this, I believe, as well?
Yeah, 18
Yeah.
divs.
So yeah, you have 8 team divs for Division 2 and Division 3, I believe.
D2 to 4. 2, 3, and 4.
Oh yeah, 4, right. I forgot about 4. So what kind of brought that type of change? Because a lot of people have been I've known a lot of people are kind of been a little bit more negative to that.
It's expected. The thing is with random only, the backlash that I've gotten hasn't really had like much weight to it other than we suck.
Okay.
Put us in a div where we're not sucking. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the idea of it is the idea of it's actually spawned mostly from I got put on a council. We're on season 14 now, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the beginning of season 13, like the season 12 to season 13 gap I was put in, and I got put in there through seeding, like when seedings were being done. And the amount of complaining I got, I was like, holy shit. Like people are complaining, they want to be in the lower divs so bad. Like it was like so overwhelming, and I like couldn't believe that we were like giving into all this. Like the idea of being in a division isn't that everybody's as balanced as possible. Like, it's not like we're putting Weenie Hut Juniors with Wollywogs. Like we're putting like obviously like divisions are going to look imbalanced because the whole idea is to have upsets and prove people wrong. Like we're in a promotion based league. Like
we're
gotta
not really, to be honest, but
the only reason we're
yeah.
not really in a promotion-based league is because teams change so much and rosters change so much, and there's really not much you can do about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I tried implementing the idea of having like 5 to 7 team rosters, it just wouldn't work. Like
Yeah.
the one thing you will never be able to change in this community is how much the teams change and how like when people can play. That's just something you can't change.
Yeah.
But I think the idea of a double elimination bracket, I feel like this is really going to shine when double elimination playoffs bracket comes. I feel like that's just generally more hype, and the fact that it's a 7 like with a 7-week group stage and eliminating 2 teams, you're able to weed out either the drop teams really early or the teams that just straight up don't work. Not as in like the team that practices 5 times a week and loses and gets eliminated, as in like the team full of, I don't know, idiots that end up not wanting to talk to each other and barely even finish the season. So we're able to weed out people by eliminating, like weed out the problematic teams early on for playoffs.
So,
But
I mean, so it's like the top 6 go to playoffs, right?
yeah,
So, I mean, I'm looking at the standings. It's like a lot of it seems very, very close though right now. So
yeah,
especially in your division, it's like, oh, like there's only like a 2 game gap between first and last. I'm looking at Division 4. There's only, I mean, it's more lopsided, but still like there's like what? There's like a one. It's, I don't know. It feels like a little bit on the. I feel like it doesn't really weed out like the teams that are like completely like. I mean, I guess if we there's one team in Division 4 that's like not like kind of like doing really bad, but like other than that, like,
that team dropped. So
oh,
there you
okay,
go. For
okay, never
example,
mind then, never mind then. But yeah, I feel like that's a lot closer, and I don't know. I feel like it doesn't like weed out like all the bad teams. I feel like it's just like more. I feel like it's like more of a chance to do well, but like also like even though if you like if you like a lot of it comes down to, I feel like I think a lot of it like getting into playoffs and stuff will come down to point differential.
yeah. It's not really that when I said like weeding out the bad team, it's not that I'm saying that from like a negative standpoint. It's just as in like it's basically making it so people have to like take the least amount of free wins as possible. That's what I'm saying. Like
Okay.
teams that like you can see last season, there were teams that dropped, or there were teams that just went fucking like 1-9, and like I'm sure by like week 6 to 7 they just wanted out. Like I was on one of those teams that just
Mhm.
barely wanted. It's my CT team, FL2, like pretty much wanted to stop existing after week 5 to 6. So this is good. Like it just generally like makes the league more enjoyable, I guess.
Yeah,
But
because everybody has a chance to make it to playoffs.
yeah, and
Yeah.
even though there's still like 6 teams going to playoffs, the whole point is that your seeding matters a lot, obviously, because of the, I guess, the home team advantage and like who you're placed against. So
So is it like 1 versus 6, like 2 versus 5, like that?
I believe so. I'd actually have to check. Hold on.
Okay.
I did all this stuff, but I haven't actually looked at it in a while.
I feel like the 1 and 2 seed would get a bye, right? And
Yeah,
then
1-2. I 1-2 get a bye. And then, oh my god, there was a picture on here.
3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is.
Yeah. Oh, is this like it's like a
Normal.
league then?
Yeah, I actually a lot of the I have to say, 18 divisions. You have no idea how long it took to actually get to like this idea. Not like the idea that we should make divisions larger. Like everybody kind of agreed on that really quickly. It's just the formatting of how they would be done with like equal amount of host weeks and plus minus and all that stuff, and making it not too long. That was hell. Holy, that took so long. Like people don't know how much of a struggle that was. I'd like to see if we can get to 10 team div. Not either get to 10 team divs or get it so even in CTs we can have 18 divs all around. I feel I really don't like the fact that we can only have we still have 16 divs in some divisions, but like it's the amount of players that we have, the amount of teams we have signed up is the problem. We can't
So
really divide it equally.
I still want to define why you don't like the 16 divs that much.
I don't like 16 divs personally. Like I said, it's it just makes people like complain more for seedings, and it's I don't really like even right now, I don't really like how playoffs are. I just really like double elimination brackets personally. I just think they're a lot more interesting, and I think it's just better to have people break out of their skill bracket. Rookie actually talked about it in the video. I don't know if you ever saw it on the Rook View. He talked about how in MK8 there's a large problem because there's more divisions where people are like 5v5 D 6 to 8 only in that game,
Yeah.
and like that issue like poses an MKW a lot, and and people just never really break out of their skill cap because they're forced into these small divs in WL, and when they're outside WL, they
They had
either
to.
can't find wars because D1 to 2 is in the Mogi Lounge all day, or they just don't want to play them. So they don't really. This is like the only way you can actually get people to rise.
Especially since people are. I know for CTs, people are practicing against like since like track picks are super important. People are just practicing like people around their skill level, just like as scrim partners.
Yeah. In CTs it matters a lot more because I felt like the old CT meta, like I felt like it really how do I put it? It stalled the bottom divisions. It made it really hard because in bottom divisions, the teams that won were the teams that literally just hired D1 players that scored 150 per match, and they just picked around like cheese picks, like they picked Color Wonderland in D4 because nobody knows how to play it. They don't actually like the meta, quote unquote, in D1, where the standard one was just with the standard meta was literally just pick Boo like if you're top, and in D3 it was like pick the most whack track you can that nobody knows how to drive, and that just kind of like makes no one want to learn because you have 216 tracks staring down at you,
Yep.
and it's like, how do you learn? Like it's
Yeah,
it's too
I
much time.
remember like I remember when I played like a little bit of D4, like I was like, okay, you have to learn Yoshi Lagoon, you have to learn this track, you have to learn that track, and
And then
stuff
they
like
end up
that.
picking some different shit in the same week. You're like, oh well,
Yeah, I'm like, oh, what the fuck is this? I'm like just like blindly like racing and stuff like that. Oh God,
yeah.
those are terrible, terrible
But
memories.
random only, like it just like Jam told me because like he's like had like obviously he's played in D1 plenty of times before, but like he never actually like wanted to practice 216 tracks, so he would just be kind of in the middle. But now he's like, I just get to play like the hard tracks, like just 20 per week is just manageable. That's just basically what it is. It's nice and manageable, and I think it's doing well.
All right, so I guess going off from like, I mean, talking about a little bit more changes, I guess your team, especially like CV, they you guys are actually playing a different, I guess, kind of being a pioneer, I would say. In I wouldn't say pioneer, but like you guys are actually, yeah, I forgot how to say it, but like you guys are actually playing a lot of all run in your WL matches, right?
Yeah.
So I guess do you want to talk about like why you guys, I guess, talk about like how this came up, how you found this, and then why do you think it's like the future of Mario Kart Wii and stuff like that?
Okay, so the reason all roads started actually, it was last season in D4. I already made we played CV in D4. CV played D4 last season. WL in general, we had no intentions of winning. We were just too lazy to bag, and we just wanted to like chill, have a nice season. And then on our first all run match, I was hitting people a lot, and Luke was kind of hitting people, and we won by like a lot. And I was like, whoa, something's working here. And then we started like going to specific. We like learned that specific tracks are much better for us in all run than others, and others that we were terrible at. And we learned like how to divide our runners and baggers enough, and like taking advantage of other team's chalk. And then we just generally built it throughout the season. But I actually don't think we even perfected all run until after we won. As funny as it is,
Did you
after
guys go
finding
10-0 that season?
no.
Okay.
I think we went like 7-3 actually.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, I
We
thought you.
still we had top seed though, so
Okay.
we just went to the finals.
Yeah. So like, why do you think that it would be like such a huge? So I mean, you have a huge post, I remember, but I guess do you want to talk about like, do you want to like talk about your post and stuff like that? Because like you have like a
Yeah,
huge like you feel like you have like I guess we can tie this within the metagame thoughts as well because we're gonna ask
yeah,
about that anyways. But like you're a pretty big proponent of like not you don't send people backwards and stuff like that, which is kind of like especially in right now in Mario Kart Wii, it's like if you like normally like people would think you're crazy if you don't send someone backwards.
hmm
So do you want to talk about like why do you think that, and then I guess like you want to talk about like oh like trolling, Schlag, and
Yeah, I
Whatever.
can
Yeah.
comment it all. I don't even know where to start. I guess like the reason why I like encourage it so much is because I think that outside like not really I'm not talking about rule sets here, but the types of 3 wars that happen currently, not talking rule sets. So you have trolling wars where you got 8 people running and you got 2 people hitting people backwards. It's still like straight up before I go into this, 8 running uh rooms, 8 running in 10-player rooms, the items are garbage. Like the items are straight up garbage. 7-8 is way too damn strong. Middle spots you want to kill yourself, and like if you're in top 2, you usually have a billion-second lead. Because if you ever drop to like 4 to 5, you're gonna want to be in like 6 or 7-8. And the other type of war that happens is suicide, where you got 2 people going backwards and 8 running. So it's the same ordeal, but even worse because trolling can't really balance out like the top spots, and then top spots end up snowballing more because of track pits, etc., etc. I also said last year that trolling. I ever talked about. I don't even think I need to go into why suicide is like not viable for everything I just said about 8 running rooms, and you're literally relying on a dice roll on whoever touches boxes better. It's not about like who's better at going backwards or who's more of a gentleman not touching boxes backwards. It's literally just hitting as many boxes as you can in 9-10, and it's a dice roll for the shock. And that's what
Yeah.
saves your race in suicide. In
And
trolling, I said it last year, but like if you have 2 people that get really goddamn good at trolling, it gets kind of dice rolly, because if you have people that can have like a 90% hit rate and they know that you can also hit people in bottom spots, it just becomes too powerful. Like if you like it's just straight up too powerful. It's like you have like I don't know, you have some like crazy attack dog that knows how to hit every part of you, and it just I don't know. I played versus Gun the other week, and we straight up like we definitely got outplayed a bit, but I've noticed in the last like few months that like we just end up like trolling wars. All run wars do not feel as how should I put it, like fluky as trolling wars. Like the spots change so much in trolling wars now because people know that like you can either just hold dodges or you can hit the bottom spots, and you just have too much control of the race. So all run. Why I think that is good is because I think that all run has the most, at least I definitely has the most unexplored depth to it, but I think it just has the most depth in general, because suicide you have too little control of the race, trolling you have too much, and I feel all run like it's just equal, because you have 10 people running and whoop-de-doo, people are playing 5v5s for a reason, and that's because the items in 10-player rooms are generally pretty good, and that's why it was, at least that's why it was like started in 2008. And in all run, there's just so many like things you can do to counter each other. Like there is a way to counter what we are doing, as there is a way that we are countering, or a somewhat of a way to counter what we're doing to suicide. The main thing that we do in all run is we rely on dividing our runners and the people who are going to be in the back, whether that mean bagging for a dodge or the shock, where we don't really never go for shock. The whole idea is that you don't really need, like on a good amount of the courses, or at least the ones that we pick, you don't need the shock to win. You just need to play around the other team's shock, keep track of who has dodges, or just hog them yourself, or make sure, or take boxes sideways. Etc. etc. I know
yeah.
people really like find that one that would just be a meme, but it is so strong. Like GC and MC, if you are in 7-8 and the other teams in front of you in 6, they take your boxes sideways. Like that is so damn
Especially in the
strong.
first set, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. First set, GC and MC lap 2, you are literally just time trialing with no items in 7-8 for I don't know how many seconds, but a large gap in the race, and that puts you so far behind because you can't simply just dodge lap 3 now. And even if you do, you're gonna be dodging the other team because they're gonna be back there keeping track of your dodges, getting a dodge yourself, etc., etc. And you're forced to spam your items to get up there. So taking boxes highways is extremely strong, but no one really does it, or they meme about it. And then the other thing is that when people stop troll, they don't realize that you're like, if you stop troll at the beginning of the race and you just run forwards, you end up putting these people in the spots in 7-8, and they end up just dodging and winning. Like there are certain times when you have to stop troll and go forward, but then there are other times you have to stop troll and make sure that you are giving the other people a worse box ahead of you in a worse place, or potentially. I mean, it's Mario Kart; you can get anything, but like mostly 7-8. 7-8 is just 7-8-9 is just huge, and I'll run in 10th, I guess, but not as much. It's just making sure that they are getting the middle spot boxes and your team is, but at the same time, like your team is like running in the front. Like it's really, you got to really keep track of where your team is, like who is in each spot, or where and what the other team is holding, or what you think they're holding at least, unless you have item spy. Uh, it takes a lot of teamwork. Your team has to be really like selfless for it to work, and that's why like I just feel so confident. Is because a lot of teams, like, they might have good teamwork, but they're not really thinking about the right things. They're not thinking about like teams when they are top 3-5, their person in fifth should straight up be stopping to 7-8 immediately in either stop trolling, getting a dodge, keeping track, like all the stuff I listed before. Teams are not like, when they have people in the front, everybody just wants to run because like it's a Mogi mindset, really. Like you think like you're in the front, a lot of teams in the front, that's good. Let's all keep on running. If you are like fourth and fifth, all right, we're all going to stop for dodges. And like the counter to that for the other team is stop for dodges themselves. I would ramble on for like a long time, but there's just a bunch of like counters to how to when people stop, etc. I mean, obviously the counter to it is to play bear in the other team and outrun them. I mean, that's how it goes. But the whole idea is that our track picks like LC, Shy Guy Beach, GC and MC, MC3, these are tracks that everybody thinks, oh, they're just basically luck tracks and all that stuff.
Or just like you guys are memeing or something.
Yeah, or we're just memeing like yeah, I know they're just idiots. No, like the whole idea behind those tracks is that they have like 1 to 2 central like shock spots, and they're also front runnable because they're generally quick courses. And
wait, LC?
they're short. Yeah, LC. There's
what are
like
the 2 shock spots there.
Basically just first set, second set usually.
Okay.
It's on. I mean, it's on 2 central. I don't know really. We end up LC is like less so than the other few. Beach is another.
Yeah, like give a good example of like what you're talking about, I guess.
I'd say Shy Guy Beach is probably like our most successful track, and it's memed on constantly. I'd say the main reason is 1, it's really good for taking boxes sideways on. 2, it has 1 to 2 main shock spots, which is just the first boxes lap 3 or like somewhere in between, maybe at the islands. But the thing is that the problem is these teams like stop so much, and it's just so easy to take advantage of it. It's so easy to like know, like if you just communicate this person has a dodge, like you can tell the people in mid spots to drop for 1 or either like stop to hit them and all that stuff. It's just so easy to keep track of everything. And yeah,
I feel like another thing you also mentioned, like about the mentality as well. I feel like that's a huge part. I feel like a lot of especially like kind of like the people who like are like, I think there's players I feel like who are really good and like who can run pretty well, but like they still have that what you call like the Mogi mentality. I know
Yeah.
Ricky also talked about this as well.
Yeah.
You have to. I remember this is something I also struggled with too. I mean, mine was the opposite matter. Like, I focus more on a clan mentality than when I do Mogies, and that kind of screwed me. But like in general, like you want to have certain mindsets for certain types of matches. So like Mogi, like try to run as much as possible, or like try to like because like that's pretty unpredictable. Like just try to race your best. But like in clan wars, you try like teamwork's important. You have to like coordinate and stuff like that.
Yeah. If you have 4 Mogi mindset players or 4 to 5 Mogi mindset players, or straight up just more than 1, like in a war, like you're probably not going to succeed. And these people, like they're not like bad players. Like it's not that they're not idiots. They're doing what they're supposed to, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, just not in a war. Like if you you do what you want to get points, but like in order to win the match, you just have to, like, people always say, oh, my skill set how my playstyle does not work in wars. My playstyle does not work playing against X person. It's not about that, man. If you want to win your clan matches, you
They
can't
just
just say
com
it's my
they just
playstyle. You
complain
just
about
gotta
it. They just
yeah,
complain about it. They don't try to adapt, I feel like.
yeah, you have to adapt. It's not a playstyle thing. You're either you're playing shit or you're not. Like
Yeah.
it's just how it goes. I I don't know. Like I feel I understand like that people like if people don't want to have people stopping or they don't want to like sacrifice themselves, they just want to get points. They just don't play wars, man.
Hmm.
Or I mean the other reason why I also think I'll run I'm putting out there so much is well two things, and one is like is kind of bittersweet where it's everybody thinks that like what we're doing is just us fucking around and that we're just not and that we're just doing it to piss people off. I mean, sure, that's fun. That's all well and good. However, it's like we're actually like putting time into these strats and just condoning it as just always memeing is it's not the best, but you know, it's also kind of funny. And
Yeah.
the second thing is that I think it just there are a lot of people out there, especially in D1, who just don't like wars at the moment because they're just so plain and they're just suicide wars where I already talked about how 8-player rooms just are generally imbalanced as hell, and then you have two people basically playing like go fish as the baggers in the back. Like that's you know they're not the most fun things ever. I don't blame them for not wanting to play wars, but I also really want them to like. I'd love to see these people who have gotten to this skill level like try to do what we're doing because I mean, um, like we're at the top of D2 right now, but there are like on terms of like our players' individual skill, I wouldn't say we're the top of D1. Like
Yeah.
we're good. We're on the top of D1. Those players are just well, they're individually skilled. And I just really like to see what D1 players and teams could do with this. Or it could just be teams in D3 that have amazing like teamwork like us, but their skill isn't as good. Maybe they could be D1, you know? I'm just really interested to see how the meta could develop and just generally make wars more interesting and not just like what we have right now.
Yeah. Um, I feel like a lot of it may have to do with. I feel like right now people. I know, talking to like Quinn and stuff. A lot of the top players are getting really bored of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
Uh,
I feel like something. I feel like either like you suggested this all run thing. I feel like something that might be a little bit like more traditional is like instead of like having a 5v5 because you're complaining about the balance of 5v5 when there's like 8 people like
8 run,
running.
yeah.
Yeah, so I know you said that like 10 players like the ideal running um like format and stuff like that, but I feel like this is just like something like I can think of like maybe try experiment with some 6v6 trolling or suiciding because maybe the items there are a little bit more balanced and that
Hmm.
and I feel like especially in like a lot of the World Cup matches like those were 66 like trolling swag or suiciding and those were really exciting matches too. So I don't know, maybe like it's just a thought of mine. I feel like we should try to I feel like experimenting is I feel like right now like experimenting it should be like we should try to experiment something to create more excitement to the game.
I mean,
I
that's what I've been doing for
yeah,
for like 5 months now, and
yeah,
I've gotten the forks up my ass for it. But I'm just trying to
yeah.
make this game a little more interesting.
I feel like I know a lot of people really disagree with you and stuff like that, but I feel like what you're doing is actually like making the game more interesting and fun. Like I feel like I know I feel like I might not agree with most of the changes, like some of the changes and stuff like that, but I feel like right now it's getting to the point where 5v5 is really fucking boring and it's
Yeah,
really like or like 5v5 like suicide 5v5 trolling it's not as fun. Like I know a lot of people say trolling is fun, but especially like 5v5 suicide, but which is like the main format. It's just I feel like people are. It's not fun. I feel like people are just playing it because it's been like around for like around 2 years at this point, and you see like a lot of top players are quitting. You see like it's just not fun anymore. I feel like there
yeah.
has to be some invigoration.
Um. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff I want to go over. Shoot, I remember I was gonna. It was some comment I was gonna go over, but the whole idea about players getting disinterested, it makes complete sense. And that's what I'm trying to reinvigorate here. With all the changes that I've made, the main people that have had complaints, I'm not trying to say this to be shitting on them, but they're more so players that have only played for like a few years, and
Yeah.
that's not me shitting on people for skill. It's just simply a fact that like if you have only played the game for 2 years, whereas I've been playing for like 8, like you're
Yeah.
gonna. It's nothing to do with skill. It's literally just this has been your norm for 2 years. This is my norm for 8 years. So like, and a lot of like D1 players are probably the same.
hmm
Um,
Even for me, like I get super bored with like suiciding and trolling. Like I just want to like,
yeah.
even though like I'm not good, but I've been playing for like 5 years at this point right now.
Oh,
Or
sorry. It's
six.
6v6. That's what I just remembered. That's what I was going to
Yeah,
comment on.
66. Yeah.
Um, so I honestly just don't have much experience with 12-player rooms, and I am up to the idea of experience with them. I still think suicide would be brain dead just because you're still relying on two people. You still like, or just like two players going backwards at least. Like I
hmm
still think this is brain dead. Like sometimes you need to go backwards. That's one thing. Like when I talk about all this stuff with going with like 7-8 and like stopping and making and middle spots and all that, this applies on certain courses more than others. The courses I listed before, like MC3, Shy Guy Beach, all of those, they apply heavily on. However, some tracks you just straight up need the shock on.
Right.
Grumble in every cannon track, except for Rainbow Road. Rainbow Road actually doesn't matter that much because there's so many boost
Cannon's not that
panels.
good because it's a pretty big front running track.
Yeah, it's actually not as Rainbow Road. You sometimes need it to get back, but like most of the time, it's actually not that strong of a
I
cannon.
f-
But
Personally, I
yeah,
feel like I complained about this a little bit, but like I feel like we either have to go all in on trolling or we have to go all in on all run. I feel like suicide is just the 50-50 let's half-ass it, try to have it both ways, and it's not it's really like annoying. And especially the penalties. The penalties are the thing that I hate the most.
oh yeah, that's another thing about all run is there's no penalties anymore. I mean, there is gonna be some because like the thing is that like I said, like theoretically, like you're gonna need that. That's why I hate Grumble and Cannon tracks so much because the shock is like so strong there. You can
Yeah.
all run all you want, man, but if your team is top three, the other team is 4 to 7, they get the shock and they start up just have 3 people with free dodges because of Cannon. Like you just need it, and
hmm
like wars are gonna turn into suicide wars, like
Yeah.
whatever. But that's why I hate those. That's why I hate those Cannon courses. But about 6v6, there is one problem I have with 6v6. It's not really to do with like the actual items. It's straight up that we have trouble right now getting 5 players for wars. If we want 6, that's already an issue.
Yeah.
That's for that means for WL and outside. So
hmm
that's kind of sad, but
Player
that's
availability. Yep.
player availability. That's just like the largest issue that I have not been able to fix. It kind of frustrates me. Is like for WL with all the changes I've made is that there's no way to fix um I talked about it before, but player availability and like roster size. Like you just straight up like can't really change that. You can't. It's really hard to mess with scheduling and saying like who deserves this free win or not most of the time, or saying like how to schedule matches because people could be hoarding
hmm
players, or saying like, oh, we can't play when they really have 5, they don't have their best 5. It's hard to like, it's really hard to judge all that. There's not much you can do.
Yeah. I feel like either we try to force it with them. I mean, try to force it or just like try to find like a good cap. I feel like I've been a huge proponent of having a cap on teams, but like I feel like a lot it's I feel like it's way too late for now because it's like it's not like a part of the clan culture right now, a part of the marker culture right now.
Yeah,
Because like
it's
everyone wants to play with their friends right now. They don't want to like divide the team up into random like people and stuff like or like just like divide the team up because then you don't get to play with X amount of people or Y amount of people.
yeah. Um, it's just really hard to get that through. CV is a very rare case where literally like we have had the same lineup for 4 weeks, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just a really rare case, I guess. Especially now, especially in higher divs. Well,
hmm
actually, no, higher divs are generally not as bad. It's because I don't know, they're just able to play so much. But I mean, even in lower divs, like people have jobs and they have school
Yeah.
or all that, or just time zones, and it's just too hard. So as much as I'd love to have, like, I really love the idea of just like being able to have 5-man rosters, and you look at these rosters and you say, wow, like it's like it'd make predictions so much more interesting,
Hmm.
like, in my
I
opinion.
agree with that.
I follow Dota esports a lot, and I love that because you get to see, like, obviously they have 5-man rosters there, and it's just really interesting. That's where I
Hmm.
got a lot of inspiration for the double elimination bracket and divisions and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
I remember I suggested like having track bans as well at one point, and when you guys were discussing about the whole like how do we fix it so that X amount of people don't play like the same tracks over and over again. I suggested track bans, which was like, and I think in Mario Kart 8, I remember I did a tournament with track bans as well, which kind of got memed on, but like I got that from like League. I feel like we should be using like other esports to like take inspiration from and like use it to like try to better our game. I feel like experimenting is like a huge part of it too.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people are kind of upset about, I guess, is like putting into something that like matters a lot, like WL, like putting these changes into WL without like, I guess, quote unquote, like testing, I guess. But like, I know you privately tested these, but I feel like having like a public test with like different, like getting feedback from different people. I guess people are mainly frustrated with uh the lack of feedback between council and the players. Because I feel like council should represent the players well. Do you know what I
Um,
mean?
do they mean like? I mean, I felt like at least I was like pretty good at communicating when random only was like officially announced to be put in.
I
I
mean,
feel
I'm
like I
not
was pretty
talking
good
about
at.
that, but like, I feel like I feel like a lot of people are frustrated with like, I like for initially with only, it's like a lot of it is with like, a lot of people were like really against it because like I don't know, they haven't tried it, I guess, but like now it's like good. But like, say if like there's something where you implement it and like you have to put it into a WL season and then it doesn't go as well or something. Like say no overlap, for instance. Like
Oh,
when
yeah,
that
yeah.
thing, yeah, like
I wasn't there.
a lot of people were super salty about it, and it was applied to like a WL season as well. I remember. So I feel like a lot of it. I feel like basically what I'm trying to say is I feel like a lot. I feel like and with addition to like the public testing that you're doing with like all run and like the random only stuff like that. I feel like you guys have done this in private and you're like, oh, this works. I feel like also having like a public testing period, like maybe like make like a tournament to test these ideas or something
I
would be
have the
better.
idea of like an all run. Well, the thing is that you literally can't. I don't know if I actually said this before. It might have been before the interview, but
Hmm.
I don't, as much as I made that thread about all run, you can't make an all run rule set. Like, it's just straight
Okay.
up. It is like, I might have said it in the thread, but I didn't realize until after.
Yeah.
It's just like you can't make a rule set that forces people to suicide, uh like, or else you get a penalty.
Hmm.
It's just so hard to make those like distinctive lines. Like, if he reverses for an X amount of seconds, he gets a
Yeah.
penalty. If he stands still for X amount of seconds, he gets a penalty. If he goes past this part of the map or this player, he gets a penalty. There's just too many penalties that could happen,
Yeah. My
and
point is, well,
people find it
I
cheating.
feel like you're kind of sorry. This is, but I feel like you're kind of missing the point. My point is that I feel like there should be also like a pub like with people like with other like teams, especially like higher and lower teams. Like I feel like there should be a balance. Like getting feedback from both is important. I feel like there should be like a testing like tournament or like something in between WL seasons where we can
Well,
test
the
where
only
people can test these stuff like
well the
test these
only
changes.
the only thing that we really released that we could test is random only. There was nothing else that we really released that would be tested. And random only, like I said, I got Shane to implement it as a thing in the lounge, and I played like 3 lounge events with it or something. There might have been more played. I played at least like 4, 5 scrims with it. Like, people like could like tested it. And they even tested it after it was implemented, and I didn't really get any feed. Like the thing is that you can't. It's hard to test actual random only that we have right now in WL
Yeah.
because the whole idea is that you're getting a list like a week before, so there is nothing you can. It's really hard to test that specifically.
I know what BC did was like they just made their own random list and like just did a war with it or something like that. Like they had their own
Yeah.
random. They just randomized their own list. But like I feel like what I'm trying to say is like a lot of people feel very frustrated with like I guess like I don't know, a lot of people feel frustrated with council, I guess. But like I understand that you guys aren't trying to be like rude or like you guys are trying to better the game. But I feel like I don't know, I just feel like it could be communicated like a little bit better, like just like try to work I guess like the whole idea of like trying to work with like the community as well, just to say like, hey, we're gonna test this. What do you think about that? And then try to like get them actively involved as well. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, when we released this, like obviously this was at least I remember when we released Random Only, it was at least a month and a half before the season actually started.
Hmm.
And this is stuff that could easily been reversed. Like I remember I had some I like had some idea about what was it it was something about plus minus and like rule sets that I
Okay.
had to implement really quick, but that was because it was like a few days before season 14 started, and council chat was a mess, and we were scraping because
Yeah.
there was one person we relied on for like the 8 team tables, and they popped out at the last second. We had to redo everything. It was a mess.
Oof.
But otherwise, like random only is the only thing that I feel like we actually had communication on. But the reason why I like the whole thing about like you were talking about how you need input from lower div players and higher div players. The thing is that like when I got feedback from random only, like
Oh
negative
yeah.
feedback,
No, you have a
none
good
of it
point
was really like none of it really challenged like is this more competitively viable or not? Because I feel like that was just unanimous. It was just whether people wanted to play or not. The
Yeah,
only
that's true.
like it straight up comes down to do you believe that there are going to be 8 or more tracks per week that are straight up dice rolls?
Hmm.
And I think we found at least the fifth list actually just got released, and I don't think that's been the case.
Yep.
And like I don't really think that they're like people were able to test it, and I think like a few people sent me videos of wars that happened, and I just got good feedback from that. And those were lists that were released like 5 minutes before the match.
Okay.
Like that's the thing. I got a lot of people complaining that like lower div teams don't matter and all that stuff. And I was saying like the changes I'm trying to make are for competitive viability, as in I actually the change that this change like benefits lower div players, because I don't remember if I said it in the interview again or not, but I was talking about how the lower divs and CTs with the standard format before were
They just pick those same tracks over and over again, or just pick random ass tracks that like
it was
yeah
either what D1 was like, where everybody just picked fucking Boo
meta
Lakes because
tracks.
they were
Yeah.
top spots, or they picked Riverside Park because it was a reset,
Mhm.
or they picked, wacky ass Rainbow Cloud Wonderland 5th edition
Thing.
with 3 balloons,
Yeah.
which is like a 4-minute track with 500 texts. Like
Hmm.
they just picked those because the D1 player on Battle Cry's team will know how to drive them, and the player in Elmer's won't. So like they'll
Yeah.
just win.
It's
And
very,
like
very dependent on one player.
the whole idea is
Yeah.
that I'm pretty sure this would lower the gap or shorten the gap, because like you would have the equal amount of time as the D1 team to practice these tracks, and like
Not only
you
that, but I also feel like it'll help them with track diversity in the future as well.
yeah like obviously like when I kept on repeating the words competitive viability, that's
Hmm.
obviously going to piss people off. But I mean, it's a competition, man,
Yeah.
and I feel like the only way that you would be able to test random only is like I guess the better thing I could have done, or we could have done as council, but I was like obviously the main catalyst for this change, is to make a tournament where I give the list like in advance or
Yeah.
something. But that's like really it. I mean,
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like that could be a good change. Like just like have like some like mediating thing or like something in between WL to to test these things out. I mean like
I
yeah,
But that's
just
really the
just
only change
hmm
that I could say that we could have handled better.
yeah,
But at the same time, I feel like we were like in CGWL discussion. There was a, like a there was a fire there. Ooh,
yeah. There was
there was
pretty
going on
spicy
there.
stuff.
It was
I mean,
hectic.
I thought like I was like trying to like I remember I was like I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I was complaining about it. I was like trying to like get like trying to argue for the other side, but then there's these people who are like oh like trying to make fun of council and shit like that, and it's like this is not good. I always feel
Yeah, I
like
mean,
I always feel like the problem with is like a lot of those like especially a lot of the lower division players they're like pretty young, so like
well,
they, yeah.
that's life.
Yeah, that's life. I feel like yeah, I feel like in general like but like yeah, I feel like this change is fine, but like yeah, I do agree like that like I do agree that there should be a tournament, but I feel like you guys did relatively okay. I mean, you guys did really good. I feel like especially for the CTWL.
But that's really the only change that we made that
Yeah.
was extremely like we eight team dibs. That's literally just get good. I don't
Yeah.
think there wasn't really much opposition to that, other than teams that just like obviously they're gonna be seed 7 to 8. Like that's how it is, and like
Hmm.
every esport slash sport that have groups like that, divisions. But
Yeah.
at the same time, there was also no transfers mid season, which we had some issues about, where people tried changing their rosters after seedings after we get bitched at for uh at every wanting too much in WL announcements about seedings and like deadlines and all that stuff.
Hmm.
However, the amount of backlash we got from denying transfers after seedings or problems with team confirmations, it's just, you just gotta get on the ball.
Yeah.
Like, there's
We're
one in the there's one issue where we think where we did where uh we should have allowed transfers literally up until week 1 started. That was something we couldn't really go back on after we screwed up with it. That was actually I think that was the worst screw up we had this season, but
oh
nobody
what
really
was it that like transfers were allowed until week one?
basically the transfer deadline after seedings was like 3 days after, and there was a gap between week 1 starting and then the end of seedings where you just couldn't transfer, and I thought that was silly, but that we realized it was silly, but we couldn't really go back on it either,
Yeah,
because
that's fair enough.
obviously like you would have people bitching like, why did I not get accepted and all that stuff, so
Yeah.
it was kind of shit. But
It's good to be consistent though. Like say like
yeah,
yeah.
I don't want to be inconsistent, and
Hmm.
we've gotten backlash at that over this drop situation. I don't know if you know the Mal and Gross situation. That's a whole mess, but
Yeah.
it's whatever.
Hmm. All right. Oh God, it's been almost an hour for this interview. Damn. I always feel like I was like, I won't do long interviews anymore, but then stuff like this happens. But
Yeah,
like I really like hearing about this stuff. It's really good to get insight from like council like especially as someone who's like still like involved like heavily in like the count in like council and stuff like that. It's good to get like your thought or your point of view because a lot of people are very like they don't really like council that much.
I mean, I can understand it.
Yeah.
Like I with all these changes, um, I didn't expect like everybody to be happy,
Yeah.
hunky dory and stuff. Um, the other thing I said, which is something I didn't want to have to say that much, was when people complained about all these changes, when I talked about competitive viability, especially low div players, I literally just said, if you do not like these, if you are so opposed to these random only changes, that you can just straight up go to, go make a bracket, make a tournament, and have people play. Make it like a 5 week tournament. It can be round robin, or it can be an elimination tournament, whatever the
Yeah.
hell you want. Like, just like like I don't, it's pretty much the same thing. Like if you're, I understand, like if you do not want to play random only because you just want to chill, you don't want to try hard, you don't want to have to practice tracks, you just want to pick whatever you want and just chill every week, that's fine. Like you got lounge, you got scrims, you don't have to be restricted to all these stupid WL things with the host
Yeah.
condies.
Mhm.
You could just chill and make your own tournament or do those other things I said. Like I
Yeah.
understand that playing WL is like fun for some people, but like I don't want to. People were talking about a middle ground, and it's hard to have when you have a promotion-based competitive league. You really can't make a middle ground for a lot of these changes. You just kind of gotta like,
Deal with
oh,
it.
just yeah, it's a competition,
Yeah.
you know.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say?
If that's all we got, I guess not. Just the main reason behind this all run stuff is because I want people to try it as much as I would like to like stay completely secret about it and make people think that we're just idiots. I really just want people to. I want people to try out all run because I think it's just, I just want to see what other teams do with it if they find out things we're not, and just generally like make the game more fun, especially for those who've been playing forever. So yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for the interview. Thank you so much for. This is actually kind of a very low notice. I just asked like him when do you want to do the interview, and he's like, "Yep, let's just do it right now." I'm like, "Okay, sure."
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Yep.
Yep. All right. If you guys want to watch more interviews, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the bell to get the notifications. See ya.